Or all right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Empathy Podcast. We are here with a very special guest. We have Miss Bari with us, and she is all about love. All right, and so we are going to be talking about love today. And we've had a few podcasts about relationships in the past, and talked a little bit about love, and of course, love for the planet and animals and all that. But Bari, if you want to talk a little bit about you and share your intro on maybe how do you help people with love?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me. Right. So my company is called Meet to Marry, Get Unstuck in Love. And it's about permanently removing conscious and unconscious dating and relationship blocks so that you can summon your soulmate. And so I've helped more than 1,000 high-achieving singles to find love and build conscious relationships. And oh my God, our world needs so much more empathy and compassion for each other. And it really does all start with conscious relationships and how we're raised and how we brought up. And so we have a lot of fun with that. And I was one of those struggling singles for many years who attracted all the wrong people. And I'm blessed to be married to my soulmate for 20 years. We just hit our 20-year anniversary, and we live a vegan, compassionate life together with our 5 rescue dogs. And it's very beautiful. Yeah. So that is what I do every day. And we focus on, empathy and plant-based food, vegan food. Yeah.
That's amazing. And would you consider it like matchmaking, or is that different?
Yeah, no, it's totally different. I create empowered daters. So my program is called A Clear Path to True Healthy Love, which is what we all want. Because let's face it, we all have training and everything else. We have teachers and mentors and health coaches and all kinds of things. But in love, people just wing it. They have no idea what to do. And high achievers, we all think we should know love. We should know how to do it. So we throw up a profile, go online, see how it goes, and it's usually a disaster. It needs intentionality. So what I do is I help people in my program to clear blocks that we're really unaware of that we have, that are all about the past and modeling and incompletions, and then really design a beautiful future rooted in your true emotional needs and your values and your vision. And from that future-focused place, learn how to invite in a practical way with steps to have a fun time inviting in your soulmate. And a soulmate is a goal mate. And once we are free of the past, then even if we're very self-aware, believe me, we're all being affected by our childhoods. And then when we stop dating from our inner child, we can be really clear. And it's fun. It's a beautiful process. And love is the ultimate healing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I definitely agree. And I see, like, even when I did the previous conversations about relationships and stuff, and like, some of the challenges that people have, and it's definitely different than maybe in the past, for a lot of reasons, whether it's, some people say, oh, it's designed, there's an attack on the family, an attack on love, and maybe there's some truth there, like it's purposeful or maybe accidental, just like the things that we created accidentally caused problems.
Oh, yeah.
From like the porn industry causing problems in relationships to the food that we eat, causing mental health problems, and the dyes, and then like how that causes toxicity, and into the relationships, and like all these different things.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
interesting, like we were having the conversation before this, like about me living in other countries and working in other countries, and I got to see different types of family systems. And it was so interesting to see. Like I was saying, I did an interview in someone's home where we're talking about spirituality, but it's a huge, like they live in like compounds, like huge family compounds where all the families together, they all eat together. But then they're all taught from birth, like how to be as a family unit, like how to be a good husband and good wife. And it's not it's like what you said, it's taught from childhood. And what I think about it, and I was like, you're right. I was never taught these things. Like, it's almost like I've been educating myself, like conversations like with you, conversations in the past in the podcast. I even tell people sometimes, and I still believe this, like this podcast is really my education, right? Like this is I've learned like so many things, right? And from people like all over the world. And like, what would you say to, I mean, you could comment on some of those things if you want as well, because I spoke a little bit. But one of my questions I was thinking also, because you said 20 years, and the last conversation we had in the last podcast was, what is a healthy relationship? We're speaking, I think 7 years, I think was the time that they were married. And so, or together, maybe longer together. But let's just say, what do you think are the keys to like long-term, like 20 years plus? You know, what do you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, you want to be best friends, and the relationship must be rooted in empathy and compassion. And a really healthy, conscious relationship is really made up of two people who are both conscious and not, again, operating from their past trauma. And so when we're awake in a relationship and it's rooted in empathy, then it's not about me, me, me. It's about we. And there's an usness. And so we care about our person as much as ourselves, and we want their well-being. And so that means that there's a foundation that's rooted also in communication, right? And a shared vision. Right. And a healthy relationship also has rituals. There's rituals and commandments about, how the relationship is going to go. We never let ourselves get hungry, angry, lonely, or tired and project onto the other person, what you're not doing for me. So it's really just about a presence, a mindfulness, growing together, doing projects, and seeing the finish line, right? With my clients, we look at what is your ultimate vision, right? Then we find someone who leans into that vision. Like my husband, we did amazing things over these 20 years. We lived in Israel for 5 years. We lived in South Beach. We renovated places. Now, I knew I wanted adventure as a core value, as a vision. Now, I didn't know where we were going to live and what we were going to do, but my husband was always up for adventure. Okay. So when I proposed, let's go on this trip to Israel. Let's get married there. It was, so I would have the vision and he would have the project management skills to like get it done as a team. So another piece of that is teamwork. So it's vision, values, goals, communication, empathy. And that is really a foundation for great marriage.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I see when I look at I ask these questions to people now because I didn't really think about that before. Maybe like how we're growing up in this culture or Southern California, even Southern Florida.
Yeah.
Or when I was living in Los Angeles, and now it's too different. Or when I was living in Houston for 3 years, not too different. A lot of this, like, it isn't talked about. You know what I mean? And you often think about, it becomes more like me, or I want this, and more selfish.
Selfish.
Not selfless or looking at the bigger picture, right? And that's common for guys, right? Some girls might think differently, younger. You see like women mature, faster sometimes, right? So they might be thinking family before the guys sometimes, or selfless, right? Because they, have to, give birth and everything, right? And the guys maybe thinks more selfish for longer, right? And yeah, that's definitely tough, right? And so I was thinking too, while you were talking, is a couple things I wrote down. One is do you work with women and men, and you're helping them both?
Yeah, women and men. Yeah, we work with both. And what I find is that maturity, in order to enter a healthy relationship, you want to be mature and generous and self-aware. Like, know thyself. If not, we're always projecting. And in the unconscious paradigm, people tend to attract what they fear, what they know, what's familiar. So let's say someone's father was not present, or he uh, 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 divorced, or he was uh, not connected to the child, right? Then we have a fear of abandonment, or we don't feel good enough deep down, no matter what your level of success. Then we go out to date, and unconsciously we attract people who will abandon us, people who make us feel broken. It's just wiring. It's epigenetics, just how it is. But as we grow and mature, and we start to not analyze the past, but unwind the past and realize, well, I'm not that. I am not my childhood. I'm not limited. Then we can kind of step out of our past and into a different future. And that takes a new identity. And that's when it gets really fun and interesting, because our past is always, if we're unconscious, is affecting us in the present and then closing off the future. And if we don't know men, if a woman doesn't know men, doesn't trust men, then she won't find men. It's the same with men. If they were neglected or criticized or didn't have good modeling, then they don't trust women. And then they'll attract women who are not trustworthy and think that's all that's available out there. That's not true. It's not true.
Definitely.
So we work with both, and men are not the problem and women are not the problem. It's just the messaging that we get, and society's messaging about marriage and love is bankrupt. It's really negative.
Yeah, I saw there was a recent viral video that I saw that, like, I don't know I mean the whole thing, but the premise was, I think they were talking on like The View, like the mainstream whatever.
Yeah.
And like it was like a viral video where they were talking about how they don't need a man, and like every single panelist explained all the reasons they don't need a man, right? And it was even the marriage, and it was just so like I mean, you understand it more, but like for someone they might be like, maybe not thinking like, yeah, I agree, and but it feeds into the bias maybe that's already been present, or the trauma that's already has happened, potentially, right?
That's a great point. That's right. You bring up such a great point, and that's what's out there in the mainstream. I don't need a man. Well, guess what? That's why you don't get a good one. Because when you say I don't need a man, literally, there's no opening for love and connection. You attract what you fear. And then we wonder, women say, oh, men are so emotionally unavailable. But I don't know about that. When you say I don't need a man.
But what guys hear, you know what a guy hears when they hear that, like from a man's perspective? When they hear I don't need a man, it's like an instant turn off and say, well, I will not give anything if you don't need. Because like there's an innate something in us that we want to be needed. You too want to be needed. Like if I'm like, I don't need you at all, that's going to feel some type of way if your partner that you care about says that,
And men are givers. Men are leaders and men are givers, and women are traditionally receivers. But that doesn't take away their empowerment or who they are in their career or how powerful they are in business. And when it comes to it, we need love and we want to be comforted by a man. But if a woman has walls up and trust issues and fear and language that I don't need it, because they're saying because they don't want to be hurt again. They don't want to meet the next wrong person. But I'd rather be alone. This is the other thing women say, than in another bad relationship. Well, that eliminates the possibility of a beautiful relationship, because the man they really want is everything they want, but it's not articulated because they don't know what they need and they focus on what they don't want.
And sometimes, I'm sure you get this, you ask the question, what do you want? And often you find they don't even know what they want.
They don't know what they want.
Yeah, and so getting clear on that helps so much. And whatever you do, but especially we're talking about like relationships and dating, like definitely getting clear on what you want helps so much.
They do not know what they want. Exactly. So if you don't know what you want, how can you find it? And if you don't know what the real problem is about why you're not having good love in your life, then how can you solve that too? So that's what we do in my program is we laser focus in on the very specific things that are blocking us. And it takes courage to say, I don't know, but I'm open. And that's the beauty. So that's what I do every day is help people open up so that they can receive. So, yeah.
And how beautiful too, I'm sure that is like as like a helpful, like to help someone with, or because like it's also like it's feeding you in a positive way too, right? Whereas like sometimes the work we do is like taking from our health or taking from our mental health or taking from our physical health.
It's so healing. And my clients know how committed I am to their transformation. And I stay in touch with my clients even 5 years, 10 years, 12 years later. And I just got an email the other day about from a client, and she's married 7 years. She's like, he is so wonderful. And I'm so grateful that I married a man like this who always has my back. And it's the sweetest thing. And I'm still so grateful for your program. Because that's what it's about. It's not short term. It's about a lifetime partnership. And that takes something. So, yeah. So
there's that level of unlearning that we have to go through, a level of relearning, rewiring our program. Like, I mean, just all the things I've learned, like I don't know near as much as you, but what I've learned in order to help my own self, you know, is just, it's been a lot. And I know that it takes a lot. And yeah, it's always like that commitment first from the person. Like, do you want to make some changes? And are you committed? Are you ready for this? Right. I'm sure you find some that are probably like, they say they're ready and they're like, maybe I'm not ready for some of these changes I need to make. Right.
If they invest in hiring a mentor and enroll in a program, they get ready in that program. Like just saying yes, even though it might feel uncomfortable or scary, that's okay. That is part of the process. And we hold their hands. I hold their hands in the whole process. And it happens pretty quickly because transformation is not hard work. It's aha moments. It's waking up to new possibilities. It's learning about yourself. It's seeing where we can create space where there isn't space. So it's a beautiful, it's like, like you said, it's like relearning. It's like opening up a different part of yourself that's very open and vulnerable. And that's where conscious love lives, in that vulnerable space. It's very healing.
Vulnerability in our culture is seen as weakness, right?
Right.
Sides, but especially I feel it for men, for sure.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, like even you're vulnerable the boys, if you're with the boys and you're vulnerable, it's like instantly like, you know, oh, you're gay, or like these like attacks like that or something like that, you know?
Right.
So it's an interesting, different type of challenge. Right?
That's right. Well, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Intimacy. And that's the ultimate in growth because, yeah, you could be single and you do whatever you want. But it's when you're in a conscious relationship that you're in partnership, that you're using a different part of your brain, that you're connecting, right? You're doing projects, you're raising children, you're in your community, right? You're planning things out with someone. It's the ultimate.
Yeah, I think everyone I've seen successful is working together, and that's the ultimate. And you see whatever happens, like that I see in relationships, it's always the separation part that causes the issue. Whether it's like my partner that I was committed to, where we separated, was during COVID. I was here in Kuwait, and that separation was too much. You know,
right?
It's not natural. We're supposed to be together. And you would never have a relationship that was apart, you know, like in the past. It wouldn't even be possible. Like, we make it kind of possible with this technology, but it's not realistic, right? And and then anyone that's doing like work far apart, like let's say the guy has his main passion and the woman has their main passion, and they're separated so far apart. Hello. they're separated so far apart in time, like maybe 10 hours, at one job or whatever their passion is. And then the other person's at another 10 hours. So now they're 20 hours of the day apart and they're only 4 hours together, but that 4 hours is likely sleeping, right?
Yes.
So something like that. And this separation, I noticed, causes a lot of the huge challenges that people have. And that's like normal American culture. You go to work, I go to work, we come back, whatever, right? However, anyone, and I saw that success with my relationship in the past and any future relationships, it's always working together.
It is.
Seems the best, or those that are successful, right? And that was the huge topic that we had with Allison and Jared as well. On the last one was like working together and how that almost healed the relationship, because that's kind of part of what we talked about. And I don't think it has to be like you take everything that the person is doing. Like you don't have to do what they're doing. But I think if you have, like, let's say you both have multiple passions, right? But there's something that you come together on one of them, right?
Yes.
I think that is really, really powerful and beautiful. And part of the working together, that sometimes people at least find one thing, you can start with one, build on multiple. But I see a lot of partnerships, that struggle where they don't have any one thing that they're working together towards,
A lot of people get together for the wrong reasons, chemical attraction, but they don't talk about the most important things. They don't have meaningful conversations. So I speak with my clients, learn how my method for sharing and asking, approaching from empathy, only dating people who share a common vision, and even long distance dating, ultimately one person moves. There's always workability and a plan. And even in times of sustained separation for whatever reason, they still have connection. They still have a plan. They still know what that ultimate outcome is, so that they can sustain even time apart. Different seasons of a relationship, raising kids, or one person is out working, but they always have rituals and time together and things that they're doing to nourish the relationship. And these are tools that conscious relationships have.
Yeah, and where else would you learn that?
Where else would you learn that?
Like on TV,
really?
on a sitcom, on a Google search, like where? It's hard.
It's hard. So my husband and I, we came together, and because he was open, we became vegan together. Right. We read a Dr. Morse book, the Miracle Detox Source book, just as an example of projects we do together. And he was reading that the electrical charges in food. And that was like, oh my God. So when I'm eating all this dead stuff, it's not fueling me. And of course, for me, it's all about animals and compassion for animals. And people don't realize what factory farming is and how violent it is. And so, and of course the health aspect, but for me, it's always about the animals, and we should do no harm. We should do no harm. And so when we travel or on our weekends, we go to Miami, we go to Love Life Cafe, and we love it. We eat vegan steak that is so good. Oh my God. And all the yummy, delicious foods. And we cook together, and we do it's like rituals around our core values of compassion.
So I have a question. You said Israel earlier. What part did you go to?
Yeah, so we lived in Jerusalem for 5 years.
And you went to Tel Aviv, I'm sure?
Oh, all the time. They have the best vegan anywhere in the world.
Did you see?
Every block has another vegan.
Did you see my video from Tel Aviv?
No, but I want to see it.
It's called the vegan capital of the world.
Oh my God. We would just go crazy there. We vegan Ethiopian, we ate vegan pizza, we ate vegan Georgian food.
The steak 316?
Oh.
Is that what it's called? The restaurant 316?
No. We've been back here now quite a bit of time, but I'm not familiar with that one.
That one has a vegan steak.
Oh my God.
I had in the video that was really good.
Oh my God. We would have vegan shawarma and pizza, and Oh, everything. And of course, in Israel, it's like hummus is like running through the pipes and falafel and all of that. And I make, we follow Derek Sarnow. We watch in bed and then we make his recipes. And it's a whole lifestyle. You have to, we didn't come together for this, but I married a man who leans into me. And we live on 5 acres in nature in Florida. I don't know if you guys can see, but we have like walking trails. Anyway, it's hard to see here. We don't kill even a bug. When you start having reverence for life and you look at a little bug and you see how complex they are and the place that they have in the world, and we have huge trees and birds and each little animal does something. The mice do something, the rats do something, the bees do something. So I just want people to like stop killing everything, stop using pesticides. And when you spray, it goes in the water, you're smelling it, it goes into our delicate tissue. And anyway, you don't want to get me started there, but my husband and I are the same way. And it's really important to marry someone that leans into you, not compromise, not settle, like he's eating meat and you're eating plants. No way. We got to be aligned, and we grow together.
Yeah.
You know, we grow. Yeah.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. And like some people are worried. I'll come from like the guy's perspective, you know, like a vegan guy, you know, wanting to date a vegan girl as an example, right? And this is the way that I view it now. And because I've experienced this as well, by recent, you know, partnership, we were engaged, and like everything would have been fine. I believe everything would have been fine if the world didn't do what it did, you know.
Yes.
You never know, right? But either way, she's from the Philippines. We were working overseas, and we were both working in the Middle East at the time. And she, you know, I'm from America, you know, working overseas, and she's from there working overseas. And you know, we ended up falling in love. And what happened was, I thought when I went over there, I was like, I'm never gonna find someone.
Right.
I was a new vegan like 1 month in when I first went there. Right?
Yes.
To the Middle East. And I was like, there's no way. Like, now I was like starting to learn more. I was like, great. Now my partner is probably going to have to be plant-based or vegan.
Oh, yeah.
If it was already hard before, now it's going to be impossible. It was like my mindset, right? And
most definitely.
And then, you know, I meet someone. And then what happened was she was very open-minded to everything, right? And so I remember we were sitting down, and like I told everyone I was going to buy everyone food after work because they stayed later or something like that. It was like we were opening a new restaurant, and there was like a lot of work, and I was like, okay,
yes,
I'll buy everyone food afterwards, you know, for everyone that stayed late. And she happened to be one of the people that was there, right? And I didn't know, like at the time, it was like in the beginning or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I bought, you know, whatever them food, and I didn't feel comfortable about it because it was like some chicken. I was like, I feel uncomfortable about this. I was a new vegan, you know, and I was like, I promised I would buy them, you know, food, right? So I did, right? But I told them a story, you know, they're like, why don't you eat chicken? And it was like, I shared why, right? And it was so profound that she never ate chicken since then. She was one of the people there, right? And then that was just, you know, just sharing why, right? But then when I, you know, was more interested, right, and I wanted to get to know her more, what I did was find out her favorite foods and make her favorite foods vegan, right? And that's very simple and very easy, right? And you can find it in recipes, and then just watching a few documentaries together.
Love it.
And that was it. It was natural. There was no conversation. There was no argument. But what I found overall, in general, as the relationship grew from there, then it was like we were going all the spots. We're traveling and going different places. We went to Bali, Indonesia. That's where I proposed, was in Bali. And she even filmed with me inside the slaughterhouse in Bali.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, she was there with me, like, and doing activism stuff with me, you know? So she was like, committed, right? But what I found was for a guy and a girl, right, is if you're a great leader and you're a good person and you're doing what's right, you can lead, a good woman into that, right, in a positive way, right, and not well, you have to be this, right? So they don't have to start out as vegan, because I believe everyone's mindset already is that, right? Listen, a psychopath, right?
Right.
Wants to harm animals. So once they understand, right, they're gonna get it. If you're confident in who you are and you're a good leader and you can communicate well, right? I believe anyone that can lead their partner in that compassionate way and not harming others and not eating animals.
All of that awareness, I agree. So you want someone who leans into it. We're not trying to change someone, but when you explain who you are and what you're about and what you believe and how you eat and why you eat that way, you want someone who leans into it, who's open. And then when we can kill cognitive dissonance by just getting the facts. As humans, we tend to be disconnected. You go to the supermarket, here's a package, but you never think that chicken was boiled alive, or that piece of lamb was just a baby, or the pig is so intelligent and was in so much fear and lived in a gestation crate and couldn't turn. Like, I think about these things all day long, and that fuels me to share with people. They don't even know. I think when people know, then they want to do better. And when you can eat something that is plant-based and clean, like lion's mane mushroom, and press it and grill it, it tastes like steak. Why would someone want to hurt a cow that suffered and was raped, or babies taken away? I mean, sorry to be so graphic, but this is the facts. This is what people don't tell me, but this is really real. It's real.
I find it so easy once you learn that. To me, it was just so logical. It was so easy to avoid. Like,
easy.
Once I learned it was unnecessary and cruel, it was just so simple. Like I am reminded of those things too, and I filmed those things, and they're on my channel, right?
Yeah.
And and I see that too when I'm in the supermarket, and that helps me make that choice. It isn't food anymore, and it is not. And it's also once you identify that, it is really easy to me, right? It maybe took a minute in the beginning, but now it's like, in my mind, there's thousands and millions of substitutes. I feel like I've tried everything in the past, and also like the food that we work with directly, like, to me, is one of the best answers that you could have. Because now you go down the line, you're like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not going to have, like, I look at like the animal products, right? All the animal products that we have, from the steaks and the burgers and all these things, as unnecessary. They're not even food, right? We shouldn't really be eating that, right? Anyways, right? So we also probably shouldn't really be eating the substitutes, or not too much of them, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, a lion's mane that turns into a steak, that's definitely, different than super processed steak or whatever, right? Still definitely better than the animals, definitely. But what's the best? I'm like, what's the best? What's the best? That's where Purium comes in. That's where these foods come in. That's where, like, this comes in. Like, I was always like, what's the best vegan food that we can have? What's the highest quality? What's the most nutrient dense? You talk about Dr. Morse. A lot of people talk about Dr. Morse. And I believe what we're doing, it aligns with that. It's identical with what, if you believe in his teachings and you love that, I believe that Dave Sandoval is like nearly identical in the teaching. Like, they're like, oh, Dr. Morse is this big healer and all these other people are big healers, and they are. But Dave Sandoval is on that level, if not higher. Maybe he's healed even more people.
He is. No, it's all the same. Raw superfoods, flooding your body with nourishment. And I find even the people who eat healthy, which was like me, I ate healthy, but I wasn't absorbing. I had gut health issues. I had parasites. And as far as Purium goes, you could never, I used to go to Whole Foods and buy all this stuff to juice, and it was so long, and cleaning it. And by the next day, I was throwing stuff out. It was, oh no, Purium is an absolute blessing. And I think everyone needs it in our society. It's simple. It just makes sense. And it's aligned with a compassionate life.
Especially for someone like you that is so busy and so focused on helping others and helping people find love that you're like, well, I don't have time to do all this stuff. And that's what started for me. I was working 70 hours a week at my job when I was opening restaurants and doing restaurants. And I was like, I literally couldn't do the juicing. I tried all the protocols and the autoimmune protocols and doing all the juicing from medical medium to Goodbye Lupus.
Oh yeah.
To some of these people that have autoimmune protocols. And I couldn't follow them because of that time constraint. But Purium, I could do all that. And I found out it's better quality than
right.
Especially what I was getting. I was in the desert, literally in the Middle East desert.
No, totally. And that's why the ease and the when you really start getting into it and you look at these formulas, raw, and how he's a genius, how he developed all of this. I feel so much better on it. And I work with people with childhood trauma. And at the end of the day, this trauma lives in the cells. So I teach them to think differently and they feel more empowered. But sometimes they still have autoimmune problems, sleep issues. So I put them on Purium and they feel so much better. So it's like part of the healthy, conscious lifestyle. And that's why, as far as the other kinds of things that people do on the journey, as long as people are raising their consciousness and their awareness and leaving animals alone, then I'm happy. I'm happy.
It makes it so simple to leave them alone too, right? Like, if you're driving and maybe you have a craving, like if you still have those kind of cravings, you just make something really quick for you right there. I have my food with me everywhere I go.
Everywhere.
And so I'm prepared for every situation. I even even this little small bag can have like 120 meals in this small little bag or something like that.
Amazing. I have to write it for there. My blender.
What if there's an emergency, right?
Yeah.
You needed it, right? And there's people like you're in Florida that have emergencies like that and they don't have food. And like, what do you do? Right. And now I found a way like to even clean my water. Like I can detox the water on the go, like a dirty water source. So it's just like, so I was in those situations like where you're in the jungle, or in the desert in these more extreme places, but you like jungle. Yeah. What do you mean the jungle? You have lots of food there, right? Lots of things. Like, go out in your yard. And maybe if you're pretty well known, you might know like all the edible plants out there, but it's not as easy as you think. It is very lush and diverse of food, right? But there isn't just fruit growing off every single branch, and you don't know if you're not educated, like growing up in the city, like I don't know what is actually good to eat and what's not good to eat. So having my greens with me was a blessing, that I just needed to find a water source, a river. That was easy to find in a rainforest, not easy to find in the desert, but like almost testing these extreme situations, it helps, right? It helps me believe too, or even pushing myself to the max of my physical limits without eating this food. Like, is it really food? Can it really stand the test? Like, test it, and I like doing that because then it's just, I don't know. I've always been like I want to see it to believe it. Go inside the facilities, help me believe it, right? Go into the land where he grows the food and grows. They teach how they grow the soil and how they regenerate soil. I was like, whoa.
It's amazing.
How they create soil from nothing. I was really amazed to see that.
We could talk about Purium. Let's do another one, just talking about our Purium journeys and our own health journeys. I would love to do that. And Earthling. I think people should watch Earthling. They should watch Dominion. Yeah, exactly.
We're all Earthlings. It's basically
all Earthlings.
What they're saying. It's a person that lives on the earth.
And I'm about to talk with Angie now all about my health journey and what's possible for other people. And guys, love is everything. And Kevin is all about love and he's all about compassion. He's one of those guys that is like just emanating goodness for people and for the world. So it's been a privilege. Thank you so much for inviting me to have this really wonderful conversation. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you as well. And I we'll be chatting soon. Have a great
We will be chatting soon. Bye, Kevin. Thank